Okay, back to the floor where we had to pull back last time, so let's see how much further we can get from here. Not that we've got any idea of just how high this tower goes. All we know for sure is that eventually we're gonna make it to the top. Okay, definitely kind of reassuring that Carmine made it to level 51. We're definitely at the sort of strength where we should be able to beat the final boss of your usual Japanese role-player game. But then, for all I know, the final boss is going to force us to use very specific classes in order to beat him. Just like a few of the other bosses over the course of this game. Okay, some more chests to grab from, and apparently we've got water instead of a dark abyss here. No clue why I advanced to the next floor before grabbing the items from those chests, though. And I somehow doubt that red dragon is going to turn out to be Xande. Anyone want to bet if that dragon is going to be known as Tiamat or something like that? Granted, it looks significantly less intimidating than the Tiamat we saw in the original Final Fantasy, but hey, this series has a thing with reusing names. No point in getting the crystal equipment now. We've already found the store where we can buy more of this. And we've got so much money to burn that we could get away with buying enough crystal gear for all 4 of our team. I suppose if you didn't go all the way to the bottom of Eureka and found those hidden stores, then that armor would be very appreciated. But we kinda did. Wait. On top of its sheer durability and strength, the red dragon can poison us too? That seems kind of annoying and honestly ignorable, all things considered. The main hits this guy's throwing around are just so much higher than what poison can do that it's barely noticeable in comparison. Well, guess that's what I deserve for saying that poison is ignorable at this stage of the game. Dear God, that dragon put up far more of a fight than I was expecting from a random encounter. What, is that a preview to the dragon fight we're gonna get in the next floor? How much worse is that dragon gonna be? Especially if it's somehow important enough that we can actually see it when we're wandering around. Kind of embarrassing that I forgot to deal with that poison for a moment there. Possibly a sign of just how long it's been since we've been poisoned in this game. Well, the Dark General was certainly less of a pain in the ass, even if he caught the chance to attack us when we were in the absolute wrong formation. Right, that does it for all the chests on this floor, as small as it was. And holy shit, apparently that was the last of the chests in this dungeon at all. I guess we're closer to the end than I thought. Wait, we've got multiple dragons, but we aren't able to interact with them in any way? Really? That's your trap? Excuse me for finding that bullshit, especially since my first instinct was to try to attack the dragons before I even noticed the mirror on the wall. If you're gonna put the players through a forced trap of some kind, make it feel a bit less obvious and stupid than this, please. We're getting help from beyond the grave for some reason now. That's definitely a good sign that the story is coming to a close. Or at least close to it. Though that feels a bit odd considering how much footage I seem to see left to work through here. Just how long is that final boss fight gonna be anyway? Huh. I was expecting us to have to do some fighting while he did his searching there. Apparently not. We're seeing the ghost of Toga grab anyone named who isn't dead at this point to help us. I don't think there are enough named characters left to do the job, but hey, I'm sure in some ways this would come across as absolutely awesome in the 3D version of the game, since the characters there are more defined, for whatever the hell that's worth. Is Carmine really the only member of the team that anyone here is gonna name drop? What about the other three heroes? It's not like they were given any fewer character moments than Carmine over the course of this game. I'm sorry, what? I thought Tesh was the first dramatic death in this game, and it turns out he was completely fine in there? Good God. I suppose he's the main reason we get a lot of overly dramatic false deaths in Final Fantasy IV. Though I've got to admit, when used sparingly, it can actually be a good trick that leaves the audience smiling. I certainly know I am right now, though I hope nobody else who died on screen around here is gonna come back for the sake of it. We still need 2 more people to distract the dragons, apparently. And apparently a newly crowned king is just what we need, though I can't really think who number 5 should be. Who the hell am I forgetting here? Ah! So it's not 5, but 8 people who need to save us in a desperate final, battle moment, or at least the pre-final battle. My mistake. It really is just 5. Still managed to keep me smiling, though I don't think any of them can actually fight against a dragon and win. Hell, the balding redhead who didn't even get an individual name couldn't take on some damn basic enemies, even with 3 of his friends at his side. Now, I'm not saying that a character strictly needs to kick ass to save the heroes, but this situation kind of feels like it needs people who could have potentially fought alongside our main guys. But I suppose it's not too often that the heroes are saved so directly by people that they helped out over the course of their journey. I figured that was just a case of the game designers wanting to save on space and not make more of a background over here. Not that some intangible darkness has been growing in power and getting ready to engulf the world. Hell, the darkness has only been touching this tower, so it can't be all that close to ending everything. Anyway, here's Xande, the evil one of the 3 sages, and sadly enough, he looks like the least menacing of the 3 to fight. Oh boy. With those kinds of damage numbers, I don't think this guy's gonna have a good time against us. Not that we've got any clue just how much health he has overall, just like all the other enemies we've had to fight to get this far. probably need to get Midori to do something a bit more powerful than Kira next round. Okay, so it's kinda rough, but honestly nowhere near as tough as I was led to believe, especially in comparison to Chaos from the original Final Fantasy. But then I suppose the villain who took over from Golbez, the thing called Zemus, had 2 forms. Maybe Xande here has more than 1 form as well. There were a few moments where it got a bit dicey, but we managed to take Xande down without all that much trouble overall. Okay, that was a long dungeon there, but honestly, it was kind of relaxing after everything else we had to go through. Again, they capitalized Cloud and Darkness there. I suppose that must mean it's something important. Okay, so we've got a villain taking over from the guy who we thought was the main villain. Honestly, a game with a story this basic can easily pull that off. At least better than a game that has a more complicated and intricate story. It's not like Xande had any build-up to make replacing him feel abrupt and strange. Hell, the pastor who was messing with the fire crystal earlier in the game had more menace and gravitas than the guy who was faking being the primary villain of the game. Lovely. This fight is directly off the back of Xande, which means we've spent some of our more powerful spells before we've even made it to the main event, who is probably a lot stronger and more durable. Ah well, that's what elixirs are for. Oh, come on. Oh. Oh, never mind, it wasn't an instant full party wipe after all. Sure, we're getting the game over music, but this is definitely not the game over screen. We're in a scripted sequence. And it looks like our allies actually did manage to slay those dragons earlier and are now come to help us even more. We haven't given up, we just got hit by a particle beam that took out everybody's health in a single shot. That's kind of demoralizing. So unless you guys have an answer for a shot that can take out over 6,000 health from all 4 of us at once, when none of us have even half that much health, we're kinda screwed. Why did the music abruptly stop there? Right. So the dead sages are still helping us out from beyond the grave. This was probably incredibly epic at the time of its release. And to be fair, I am still grinning because of it. So even this kind of bare-bones thing can be, in its own way, timeless. It's very easy to see that this is in many ways an upgrade from what Final Fantasy I brought to the table. And it honestly does make me kind of want to give Final Fantasy II another try at some point. But I'm certainly not in any hurry to try that. Just like I'm not in any real hurry to do this game's 3D remake, either. From Final Fantasy IV onwards, the series was pretty mechanically solid, even when you have some stumbling moments as they keep experimenting here and there. Oh, an entirely new world, huh? What? Does this mean that this wasn't actually the final dungeon? It certainly felt like it. Bold words, but you aren't the one who has to fight some weird deity of darkness out of nowhere. And you're not gonna dive down there with us. You're just gonna cheer us on as we make the final push, which might take a while. This is a moment of no return. There is no going back for fresh potions. There are no save points. So in any version of the game without a quick save function, you're pretty damn screwed unless you're obscenely overpowered. And our first most important order of business is to deal with 4 boss fights just before going after the Cloud of Darkness herself. With each of the 4 bosses you take down, the weaker that lady will be when you get your rematch, and I don't like our chances against her at full power. Anyway, sorry about having to reload near instantly there. I didn't like the fact that I just spent a flare spell on a random encounter in the dungeon that was within the final dungeon, which was itself within another dungeon or 2. Some of these random encounters are literally just a repeat of the boss fight against Xande, because of course something of that caliber is instantly turned into something we're supposed to deal with over and over again, casually. I hope nobody minds that I'm going to be fast-forwarding a lot at this point, and that I've turned off random encounters. While the overall ride has been fun in this game despite my issues with it, I just want to move on to the credits as quickly as possible. I feel like the credits should already be rolling right now. Even if narratively speaking, I don't actually care that Xande was replaced by the Cloud of Darkness near instantly after we first met him. Seriously, I just want to get things over with after the absolute gauntlet we've already gone through just to get this far. Why did they add a gauntlet on top of a gauntlet? Seriously, while part of me feels like an ass for shutting off the random encounters, we are a little over level 50. I don't think there's too much more leveling up I need to do to prepare for the final fight. I just need to just clean the table a little. Well, that's certainly an interesting looking foe to be guarding the dark version of one of the crystals. And I certainly appreciate the fact that they aren't just reusing sprites for the important bosses, but for the absolute truly final boss here in the final actual dungeon. Oh yeah, Flare is definitely our hardest hitting move. Not really a surprise, but still worth saying. Yeah, looks like Meteor is gonna be a common threat for us around here. I probably should have been doing more healing, but hey, as I said, I'm a bit impatient this far into the game, and that spell, holy, just really is speeding along this bastard's death. Not that him using Train really helped him, considering the amount of damage we're doing, but did we really need to have him use that spell twice in a row without anyone else getting a chance to move there? Definitely not one of my smartest fights over the course of this game, or in a role-player game in general. I guess after trying to fight smart against Cloud of Darkness only to get knocked out for the sake of progressing the story, I'm kinda pissed. It doesn't help that we fought against Xande as if he was the actual final boss, and then he turned into what amounts to a random encounter less than 5 minutes later. Dear God, this place is definitely going to strain our resources when we have no way out. The tents are pretty useless too, since it's not like there are any save points around here to use them on. You mean there isn't some kind of opposite to Cloud of Darkness to even things out? She's alone and constantly trying to end existence with no other deities around to, oppose her. That sort of thing of, okay, there's a monster involving light somewhere. I'd kind of like light to be more of a villainous force every once in a while. Oh, the crystals can heal us. No need to use all those healing items after all. Well, in that case, we can save those healing items for the fight against Cloud of Darkness when we're done with each of the bosses that guards a crystal down here. Probably says something that I'm willing to go through this boss fight again, for the sheer sake of not using a few elixirs. I know it's kind of a thing that some gamers just don't like using elixirs, period, but I somehow didn't think my own reluctance would be this bad. I'm the sort of guy who goes through most of a Pokemon game without even bothering to buy potions. I sell them all the way until I reach the Elite Four, and then I start buying the best that's available, and I start using healing items just for the sake of the gauntlet of very capable trainers. In a game like Final Fantasy and other role-player games, I'm more liberal with using healing items, sometimes hoarding obscene numbers before charging into a dungeon and depleting the viable healing items, and then retreating when those items get too low, but this is a new one for me. Well, at least this time when I'm fighting Echidna, I'm not just mindlessly attacking it and hoping to be the last one standing. That honestly felt like such a stupid way for me to handle that fight. It worked, sure, but just barely, but I did it that stupidly and riskily because I thought I'd have to spend some elixirs to keep our MP high for the final boss fight in this gauntlet. The moment I realized that wasn't the case, I decided to treat this as just any other boss fight. Huh. So I fought smarter, but still had a man down at the end of the fight. Does that mean we really do need to do more level ups around here? Are we just barely in a state that's essentially not strong enough for what we need to do around here?